Good morning. This morning we're having a sermon in response to the why questions that people have been sending me. And so this morning's why question is, why do so many Christian couples seem to get divorced? Before we go any farther, let me also say that I know that there are many good Christian people in this very room this morning who have gotten a divorce. Jesus himself allows for divorce in certain situations. So if you are a person who has had a divorce in the past, I pray that you have found healing, that you are whole again, and that perhaps you have found love again in your life. However, let's get back to the question at hand. Why do so many Christian couples get divorced these days? It's a good question. If Christians are following the Bible and the commands of God, why are they getting divorced? Some research has said over the past 50 years that the divorce rate in America has reached 40%. Why, if Christians are making promises and vows to God, are they breaking those vows and promises before God and those present at their wedding? When the pastor in the marriage ceremony says to the couple, "Will you promise to love, cherish, and support till death do you part?" and the couple willingly and quickly says, "Yes, we will," then why do so many of those same Christian couples opt out of marriage through divorce years later? One could easily say, well, there certainly aren't more divorces among Christians than non-Christians. Certainly non-Christians have a higher percentage rate of divorce than Christian couples. Not so fast. The truth of the matter is that the divorce rate among Christian couples is about the same as those of non-Christian couples. What gives? There was a George Barna research study in 2008 that stated that the divorce rate among Christians was close to the same as those of non-Christians. This study said that about 33% of the population were getting divorces in both groups. Wow. George Barna, who directed the study, noted that Americans have grown comfortable with divorce as just a natural part of life. Here's what they're thinking. There no longer seems to be much of a stigma attached to divorce. It now seems it's unavoidable and just a rite of passage. Interviewers with young adults suggest that they want their initial marriage to last, but are not particularly optimistic about that possibility. There's also evidence that many young people today are moving towards embracing the idea of serial marriage, in which a person gets married 2 or 3 times, seeking a different partner for each phase or chapter of their adult life. I've got a question. Is the divorce rate lower in 2019 than in past decades? Surprisingly, the answer is yes. Between 2008 and 2016, the divorce rate declined by 18% overall. And you'd scratch your head and say, wonder, what has changed? And there's actually 2 reasons that the study found. First of all, young people are waiting longer to get married. Many of our parents got married at 18 or 19, or some of them even 17. I myself got married at 22, my wife at 21. In 1984. The national average, do you know what it is these days that young people get married? It's actually 28 or 29 years old. So instead of getting married at that 18 or 19, it's 10 years later. Secondly, there are so many couples these days that aren't getting married. They're simply living together, cohabitation. You see, in order to get a divorce, you've got to be married. People are simply living together these days and opting out of marriage. How many couples do you know that are part of your family or circle of influence? They're simply living together, not married. There used to be a negative stigma to that was associated with living together outside of marriage. In the 50s, 60s, and 70s, that was there, but it's not there today. Let's shift gears a little bit. What does the Bible say about marriage? I guess if we're honest with ourselves and we look at the Bible seriously, it's all over the map on the topic of marriage. You see, Adam and Eve are the first couple we see that are together for life. Garden of Eden. They are the true example. One man, one woman, living together, having children. But marriage in the Old Testament was both a single couple and also one husband and many wives, and multiple wives, or hundreds of wives. There was also marriages that were arranged marriages in the Bible. Finally, in the New Testament, marriage is defined as a lifelong relationship between two people. Here's what Jesus Christ said on the topic of marriage in Matthew 19, verse 5. He said, "For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united with his wife, and the two will become one flesh." Catch that? The two will become one flesh. And then Jesus also added in the Gospel of Mark, in the same type of passage, that what therefore God has joined together, let no one separate. And the Old Testament tells us about the goodness of a marriage. It said, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." Ephesians 5:25, and this is for you guys. "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her." That's a sacrificial marriage, and it goes just the same from women to men. 100% giving. And Christ sacrificed his life to the church. So also, men, are you willing to sacrifice your life and give all that you have to your spouse? Have you ever heard of that 50% marriage? I'll give 50%, you give 50%. I heard one fellow say one time, he said, "Well, I've got a 50-50 marriage. I'm in charge the first 50 years, and she can have the second 50 years." My parents are having their 60th wedding anniversary this year. My brother and sister and myself are making plans for their celebration. My parents were married when they were just 18 and 19 years old back in 1959. My dad had just joined the military in the Marines, and my mom had just graduated from high school. They actually met on a bus. They were just as poor as church mice when they were first married, like probably many of you out there. They started a family with 4 children and were happy. They worked hard in the factory in Goshen, Indiana. They raised a family. They had great times, and they had some difficult times, but it was a good marriage. I remember in my grown-up years that perhaps that word divorce maybe popped up a time or two. And my mom and dad struggled. But my mom is a serious Christian. And she simply said, "No, we're not going to do that." And here they are getting ready to celebrate their 60th anniversary. And I know if you were to ask my dad today, he was so glad that he married such a faithful Christian wife who stuck to her beliefs and her principles and to her man. Theirs is a marriage and life that is a true success story of 60 years. They now live in Sebring, Florida, and are truly enjoying the golden retirement years of their lives. How in the world did they make it to 60 years? I think there's 3 things. First, their marriage was focused on love. From the very beginning and throughout their marriage, I could see it. It was focused on love from the very beginning. Love weaved throughout their marriage, creating a fabric that has lasted 60 years. I believe that can be true in your life and in your marriage, to keep love central. Secondly, I believe in the end, they stuck to a promise that said divorce was not an option. When Nancy and I were married, that was one of the things that we said. We said all the vows that you would say in a regular marriage, that love and cherish till death do us part, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer. But we added one. It wasn't in the marriage ceremony, but we had talked about it, and we had agreed that as we went through our marriage, that divorce was not an option. And there were times when arguments went from here and elevated up to here, and I'm sure that you, if you're married, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But in the end, we said we've got to work it out, because we made that promise to each other that divorce is not an option for the sake of our kids, our future grandkids, and we stuck to it. Thirdly, keep romance in the marriage. I believe this is the biggest reason for divorce. For some reason, we stopped dating. We stopped doing special things together. We stopped buying those flowers. And over time, we take